Welcome, yogis. I have a short yoga sequence for people in their first or second trimester of pregnancy. This will be nice and slow, but focused on strengthening and maintaining strength and endurance through the early stages of pregnancy. So, welcome and let's begin. You will want a pillow or a blanket or something towards the end of the class. I have mine stacked up over in the back. So if you would like to pause the video and go grab something to lay down on for a supported Shavasana at the end of the class, you're invited to do so. We will begin class in a comfortable seated position on our mat. Just taking some time to find the seat. We might rock from side to side on our sitting bones, allowing the knees to open wide and the hips to soften. We'll take a few rounds of breath here just to lengthen the spine, drawing ourselves up nice and tall. And we'll bring our hands to our belly. Maybe closing the eyelids here. And just taking a moment to connect with our breath, connect with our baby, and connect with the sensations in our body. Feeling the breath move in and out. Maybe feeling the very first flutters of movement from your little one. Or maybe just noticing some of the changes that are taking place in your physical or mental body. If you would like to take a moment now to dedicate today's class to someone or something, you may do so now. The yogic tradition, sankalpa, can be phrased with positive language in the present tense. So for example, we are healthy and well. We are happy and strong. Taking just a moment to allow that sankalpa, that dedication that you created, to feel active and resonant in the present moment, feeling it resonate through the bodies. And then we'll take that dedication, that intention, and we'll slowly place it in the back of our mind, like we're planting a seed in our garden, knowing that this will be there to support us throughout our practice, but also it can flower and bloom in its own time. We'll start to lengthen out the breath, taking some long, slow, soothing breaths through the nose, feeling parts of the lungs expand that maybe have been dormant so far today. Feeling the expansion through the chest, the rise and fall of the belly. Few more of these long, slow breaths. Create a rhythm of breath for your practice that is both full and nourishing, but not straining. So you can feel the expansion, but there's no strain in the face or any grasping for the breath. It fills to the limit, but not beyond. And it exhales completely without pushing. Fantastic. We'll blink the eyes open. We'll bring the hands down to our knees. We'll roll the shoulder blades forward, up, back, and down a few times, lengthening the spine, feeling this length of the neck just grow a little bit taller. We'll drop the shoulder blades down the back, broadening through the collarbones. I'll start to stretch in through the neck. Bringing the right ear towards the right shoulder. Noticing maybe any spots that need the extra time or the attention by drawing that chin towards the chest, just noticing maybe a sticky spot. And when you find that spot, we'll start to extend the left arm out towards the left side of the mat. Fingertips hover over the floor. Now noticing any sensation that might arise here. If you need a little extra sensation, you can reach up and over with that right hand towards the left ear. Not pulling or tugging on the head, but just providing a gentle cradle and a little extra weight here for the head and neck. Now start to flex the fingers up towards the sky with a gentle bend in that left elbow, like we're pushing the left hand towards the left wall. Taking a breath here just to experience the sensations of that stretch. And we'll exhale, slowly release, bringing both hands back down towards the floor. We'll roll the shoulders again, forward, up, back, and down, lifting the head again nice and tall towards the sky. We'll bring the left ear now towards the left shoulder, extending the right hand out towards the right side of the room. Again, finding that sticky spot, maybe in the neck and the shoulders, by drawing the chin down towards the chest. Just taking some gentle movements until you find that sweet spot. And if you would like a little extra sensation, you can reach up and over with the left hand. But if you don't need it, like if you're feeling tight or there's a spot that you're working into, you can leave the hands resting on the leg. Now we'll begin to flex those right fingers up towards the sky, maybe a gentle bend in that right elbow. And we'll just imagine that we're pushing with the right hand against the right side of the room. Nice work. Long, slow, deep breath. Great. Now we'll slowly release the hands back down towards the floor. Lifting the head up again, nice and tall. We'll roll the shoulder blades forward, up, back, and down. We'll bring the hands to the knees. And we'll start to swing our torso around nice and slow in what I call barrel roll. So imagining that your torso is scraping out the inside of a barrel. This can be very helpful for the lower back to really explore the different areas that might be experiencing some tightness or some tension. So you can pause at any of the spots that just feel extra kind of nice to breathe into or to stretch into as we take these big barrel rolls. We'll take another 2 rolls in this direction, and then we'll switch. Fantastic. We'll start to switch the direction of our barrel roll. And keeping that long, slow breath as we make these movements. Noticing how the new space is working with the body. During pregnancy, we create a lot of hormone called relaxin that allows our tendons and ligaments to stretch just a little bit more. So being mindful here that we don't maybe push ourselves too far into the stretching, but really engage some muscles as we make our movements. We'll finish up our last barrel roll and stack ourselves up again nice and tall. Take the opposite crossing through the legs. Or if you're in another seated position, maybe just shake the legs out, give yourself a little blood flow down through the feet. We'll stack ourselves up again, nice and tall. And as we inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Now we'll lower the left hand down towards the left side of the mat, and we'll reach up on the inhale and then over with those right fingertips towards the left side of the room. Coming into a side body stretch, we'll ground the sitting bones down into the floor. And we'll lift through that right side of the waist, just taking any maybe crunch out or any kind of desire to reach a little farther. Lift yourself first and then stretch over with those right arms, keeping the right elbow straight-ish. Collarbone shine towards the wall. Maybe gaze up at the sky or down at the floor, just keeping the gaze nice and steady. We'll push through that left hand as we exhale, push ourselves all the way back up, lifting the arms up overhead. We'll switch sides, lower the right hand down towards the right side of the mat. On the inhale, reach up and then over with the left fingertips. Settling down into those sitting bones, just making sure that your left cheek hasn't floated away. Finding that extra bit of space on the right side of the waist, that extra little reach over with the left fingertips, keeping that left elbow straight-ish. Breathing here nice and steady. So just noticing what you are experiencing. Great work. We'll push into that right hand to lift both arms back up overhead. And as we exhale, draw the hands down through heart center, closing the eyes, maybe reconnecting with your dedication, Sankalpa, with your baby. Feeling any sensations in the body that maybe have arisen. Great. We'll take the legs and we'll extend them out nice and long. We'll give the legs a little shake, a little rolling out of the ankles and of the toes, just fluttering the legs, getting the blood flow down into the legs, the ankles, the feet. And then we'll draw the soles of the feet together in front of us, coming into our bound angle pose. So we'll start to pull the heels in a little closer towards the sitting bone. We'll just take a nice few breaths here, drawing the chin down towards the chest. We'll bring the right ear towards the right shoulder, chin back to chest, and then left ear towards left shoulder. Again, like that. We'll pause the movements of those head rolls, stacking ourselves up nice and tall. We'll start to take this into a twist. We'll bring the right hand back behind the body, and we'll bring the left hand over to the right knee. We'll push into that right hand that's behind us, and we'll lift and lengthen ourselves up nice and tall. And as we exhale, just twist over towards that right shoulder. And as you exhale, we'll slowly unwind, passing back through center. Grab onto the toes again, and we'll inhale to lift and lengthen the spine, growing nice and tall. And we'll take the twist over in the other direction. Bring the left hand back behind the body and the right hand to the left knee. We'll inhale to lengthen ourselves up nice and tall, and then exhale to twist just a little bit deeper. And not feeling any obligation to push ourselves too far, but to just Feel into the body. I know that stretches and twists and anything through the shoulders and the lower back just feels so good to me. Exhale, come back through the center. We'll grab onto the toes again. We'll inhale, lift ourselves up nice and tall. And exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Lowering the belly down, nice and slow. And then slowly, softly rolling forward, lowering the head down. We'll take a little bit of movement in the head of the neck, nodding the head yes and no. We're taking half circles in the head. So just a little bit of movements. Working through, breathing into those spaces that just feel like they need the extra time or attention. We'll slowly round ourselves back up to seated. We'll bring the hands back behind the hips and take this into a gentle back bend. As you inhale, rock the belly forward, lift the gaze up towards the sky. Taking that nice big inhale. And exhale, bring yourself back to neutral. We'll help the knees come back together. We'll walk the feet out a little bit and then bring the knees together in front of us, just allowing those hips to close. Hands can come back behind the hips. That feels nice. Just noticing any sensations maybe that you've experienced in the hips, the lower back. Then we'll bring the knees to neutral. I'll take a wide-legged windshield wiper, lowering the knees from side to side. Great. We'll toss the windshield wiper and we'll roll ourselves over, coming into a tabletop position. So we'll stack our wrists underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. This position here. Flatten the back with a gentle tucking of the tailbone and pushing into the palms. Feel the chest lift away from the floor just a little bit. Feel the strength through the palms and an engagement through the back of the body. Gazing ahead, we'll now release that engagement and take our classic cat-cows. Lowering the belly towards the floor, we'll inhale, lift the gaze up towards the sky. As you exhale, draw the belly up as you arch the back, bring the gaze towards the belly button. Inhaling, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, lift. Pose, which is any sort of freestyle movement in this tabletop. You might imagine yourself as a mama bear coming out of hibernation, just following her intuition to move through the body in a way that feels nice. So maybe continuing with that cat-cow, maybe taking some of those big barrel rolls with the body, just allowing yourself to feel what you would like to feel. If you feel like dropping down into child's pose, you might enjoy taking the knees a little wider to make some more room for the new belly. Resting here, or just following what feels nice. Taking another few breaths here just to explore the hips, the shoulders, the back body, the belly. And then we'll pause our bear pose. We'll open the knees out a little wider. And we'll start to sink the hips down over the heels, lowering the torso down, belly between the legs, coming into a child's pose, just softening ourselves down. And we spend some time on our wrists. So maybe give the hands, the wrists a little bit of movement, wiggling the fingers, rolling the wrists around. Carpal tunnel is something that kind of caught me by surprise during pregnancy. So being kind to your wrists here. I'll pause that massage. We'll slowly walk the hands back to the knees. We'll get ourselves set up for our Virasana pose, which is a warrior pose, but stacked up and seated on our knees. So you might bring the hips over onto the heels, sitting up like this, resting on the heels. If this is uncomfortable on the feet, on the heels, or on the knees, you might take that pillow and pad yourself so you can sit up a little higher. Or if you are an experienced and needing a little bit more stretch yogi, you'll move the heels out and lower the hips down between the heels. So all kinds of options here for our Virasana. Just finding a comfortable seated position with the knees bent. Hands will come to the thighs after you've gotten yourself settled. And we've got this wonderful opportunity in our seated positions, our seated postures, our asanas, to experience some engagement of some body blocks. One that is particularly helpful during pregnancy is the Mula Bandha, which is the root lock. In Western phrase or Western terminology, these muscles are often referred to as the Kegel muscles. So the Mula Bandha can be engaged or activated by squeezing the muscles between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And so also, from what I've read about Kegels and have done with Kegels is that they kind of encourage you to do it at any time during pregnancy, before and after, and just generally through life. But from the yogic tradition, it's suggested to do the engagement of the Mula Bandha at the very top of the inhale, holding through the exhale, and then releasing before you start your next inhale. So I'll lead us through a few rounds of engaging the Mula Bandha before we get moving again. So we'll take an exhale, pulling everything out. We'll take a nice deep inhale together. At the top of the inhale, we'll squeeze the muscles between the tailbone and the pubic bone. Exhaling out nice and slow, keeping that hold of the muscles. The bottom of the exhale, release the hold. Inhale, nice and full. Squeeze the muscles at the top, holding all the way through the exhale. And then release before you start your next inhale. Squeeze and hold through the exhale. Releasing before you start your next inhale. Last one, inhale. Squeeze and hold through the exhale. And release. Nice work. So coming off of our Virasana pose, we'll come back into our tabletop. Setting ourselves back up with the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. You might shake the hips from side to side just to release that Virasana pose. We'll build a little bit of core stabilizing muscles here in our tabletop. We'll push into the palms, we'll lift the chest up, feeling the chest rise from the floor just a little bit. So we'll take a bird dog pose or 50-50 plank. We'll start by extending the flat. Use a little bit of core engagement to keep the back flat. Extending the arm and the leg out just a little bit more, reaching, gazing forward. And then we'll lower the hands, lower the knee, and give the hips a little shake from side to side. Great work. Pausing that side to side shake. Find that setup again, pushing into the palms. Feel the flatness of the back. We'll start to kick that right leg back behind us. Lifting the heel up nice and tall, swiveling those left or right toes down towards the floor. And we'll start to get light in the left fingertips. As you are ready, we'll extend the left arm out in front of us, feeling that length through the body. Maybe imagining that you're getting pulled in opposite directions just a little bit more. Take that nice, slow, steady breath here. Maybe revisit your intention or your dedication. And then we'll slowly lower the hands, lower the knee. I'll rock back into child's pose, opening the knees out wide, bringing the hips towards the heels, giving ourselves a little break here before we get moving more. Give the wrists another little massage, fingers a little wiggle. Maybe flapping the wrists or rolling them out. We'll pause the movements in our wrists, plant the palms back down onto the floor. As you exhale, rise back up through your tabletop. And then we'll tuck the toes back behind us. As you exhale, lift the hips up towards the sky, coming into your first downward facing dog. We'll take a moment here to pedal the feet out left and right. Finding a little bit of movement in the head and the neck. Just noticing what you are noticing here. Maybe taking those nice, slow, long breaths. And then we'll start to take that dog walk, walking the feet all the way up towards the hands, meeting in a forward fold, taking the weight out of the hands, maybe opening the legs out a little wider, and allowing the torso to rest between the legs. You might enjoy grabbing opposite elbows here and just taking a gentle sway from side to side. Now start to release the elbows, increasing the bend in the knees. We'll start to ragdoll ourselves all the way up to standing, stacking vertebrae on top of vertebrae, coming all the way up to standing, rolling the shoulder blades forward, up, back, and down when you get to the top. Giving the shoulders an extra little roll. Fantastic. I'm going to change direction just because it might be a little easier to see. So we'll find ourselves into our Tadasana mountain pose. We'll root down into the feet, about hips distance apart, maybe a little bit wider today if that feels nicer on your hips. So hips distance is about 2 knuckles. Let's take a little check-in. But you'll plant down through the feet, feeling the balance equal between the front of the foot and the back of the foot. The gentle softness through the knees, and maybe a slight tuck of the tailbone down towards the floor. Lifting the spine up nice and tall, pull the shoulder blades back and down, extend the fingers down towards the floor, lifting the head up towards the sky. So in our Tadasana pose is another great pose to experiment or play with or start to work with the Mula Bandha. So as a reminder, the engagement starts at the top of the inhale and held through the exhale. So we'll take a few rounds in our mountain pose, engaging that Mula Bandha. So we'll exhale all the air out. Take a nice deep inhale. At the top of the inhale, squeezing the muscles between the pubic bone and the tailbone, holding them through the exhale, and then releasing before you start your next inhale. Hold and squeeze, and then exhale. Releasing, taking your next inhale. Hold and squeeze, and exhale. We'll then release. So from Tadasana, we'll inhale, lift the arms up overhead, growing nice and tall. Now we'll extend the fingers over towards the left side of the mat, pushing the hips over towards the right just a little bit, feeling that same balance through the feet. As we exhale, lift the arms back up overhead. Next, exhale, extend the fingers over towards the right side of the mat, pushing the hips over towards the left side. Draw the belly back in, come to center. We'll open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips, coming all the way back down into that forward fold. Inhale, place the hands on the shins, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. We'll plant the hands at the top of the mat, so extend the legs out nice and long onto the floor, finding a plank pose. So one of those nice strength building poses. At any time during our plank, you're welcome to sit out a bit, lower the knees down, or come into child's pose. We won't do many of them, or maybe this is the only one. Taking a nice breath here. We'll lower the knees down towards the floor, untucking the toes. We'll bend the elbows, lower the chin, the chest, the belly down towards the floor. Resting on the pubic bone, we'll inhale, lift the chest up, pushing the palms, taking the low cobra. And we'll exhale, bend the elbows, lower the chest all the way down, bend through the knees, lift the hips up, tuck the toes, lift the hips up towards the sky. We've got one sun salutation here. Maybe pedaling the feet out again, catching your breath. Lift the gaze up towards the fingertips, walk the feet back up towards the hands. Finding that forward fold, we'll inhale, place the hands on the shins. Now exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lifting yourselves all the way back up to standing, gazing up. Now exhale, hands come down through heart center. We'll do that sun salutation 2 more times. Inhale, lifting the arms up overhead, lifting the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips. Place the hands on the shins. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands at the top of the mat. Extend the legs out nice and long. Holding plank pose for a breath. We'll bend the knees, untuck the toes, bend the elbows, lower the chin, the chest, the belly, all the way down to the floor. On the inhale, push into the palms, lift the chest up, finding that low cobra or upward facing dog. And as you exhale, bend the knees, tuck the toes, lift the hips all the way back up towards the sky. Finding that downward facing dog, taking 3 rounds of breath here, maybe pedaling the feet, maybe not. We'll start to walk the feet up towards the hands. The top of the mat, we'll place the hands on the shins. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rising all the way back up, lifting the arms up overhead, lifting the gaze up. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips. Place the hands on the shins. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, plant the hands at the top of the mat, walk the feet back into plank pose. Pausing here for a minute, really push into the palms. Lift, feel the chest rise. We'll bend the knees, untuck the toes. Or if you're feeling, zesty, you can keep the knees lifted and go through a classic chaturanga by bending the elbows, lowering the chin, the chest, the belly. Then inhale, we'll push into the palms, take that low cobra or upward facing dog, lifting the hips up off the mat. And we'll exhale, rise up into our downward facing dog. Taking those long, slow breaths here. 3 breaths in and out. We'll lift the gaze up towards the fingers and start to walk the feet back up towards the hands. Nice work. We'll inhale, place the hands on the shins, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rising all the way back up. Lifting the arms up overhead, lifting the gaze up. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Taking a moment to reconnect with your intention or your dedication. Feeling any of the changes that have taken place in the body during this practice. Great. Well, inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, one by forward, hinge from the hips. Place the hands on the shins, inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands at the top of the mat, extend the legs out nice and long. Now we'll plant the knees, untuck the toes. This time rock back in a child's pose. Opening the knees out nice and wide, taking a little break here. Lowering the torso down, just softening, breathing in and out, nice and slow. Catching your breath. We'll extend the hands out again, nice and long. Lifting ourselves back into our tabletop. Tuck the toes back behind you. Exhale, lift the hips, coming into our downward facing dog. Now inhale, lift the right leg up, back behind us, finding a three-legged dog. And as you exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest, bring that right foot up towards the hands. Pausing here for a moment. We'll swivel the left foot so it's parallel-ish with the short edge of the mat. We'll slowly rise ourselves all the way up. Bending into that right knee, checking with that back foot, maybe pivoting the foot out a little bit. Then we'll open up the arms into warrior two, extending the arms out towards the short edges of the mat, pushing in nice and deep into that right knee. Maybe sinking just a little bit deeper. Lengthen and lift the spine just a little bit taller, taking a nice breath, feeling that engagement through the thighs. If the back knee feels hyperextended, like the joint is locked, find a little bit of softness there in that left knee, relying on a little bit more muscle engagement. Now we'll start to work into our dancing warrior. So we'll flip the right palm up towards the sky. As we inhale, lift the right palm up towards the ceiling, gazing up. Left hand comes towards the left thigh. And as you exhale, bring the right forearm to the right thigh, extending the left arm along the left ear. Keeping the collarbones pivoting towards the wall, feeling nice and strong through the leg. Next exhale, rise back up into warrior two. Great work. We'll bring the hands back to heart center, swivel the back foot, to point towards the front of the mat. We'll push through that right foot. Exhale, bring the left foot back up towards the top of the mat. Sending the hands down towards the floor. Find that Tadasana mountain pose. We'll inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinging from the hips. Inhale, place the hands on the palms, rise up halfway. Exhale, plant the hands, extend the legs back behind you. Coming into our downward facing dog. Pushing those hips up towards the sky. We'll extend the left leg up, back behind us, our three-legged dog. And then we'll draw that left knee into the chest, planting the left foot at the top of the mat. Swiveling the back foot down so it's parallel-ish with the short edge of the mat. We'll slowly rise ourselves up into our warrior two. Sending the hands out towards the short edges of the mat. Take a nice deep bend into that left knee. Keeping the shoulders stacked over the hips. Feeling nice and tall, long through the spine. Feeling strong through the legs. Again, maybe a gentle softness in that back leg. Just keeping yourself from hyperextending. Then we'll flip the left palm up towards the sky, moving through our dancing warrior. Inhale, lift the left arm up towards the sky as the left hand or right hand comes towards the right thigh. Finding a reverse warrior. Then exhale, bring the left forearm to the left thigh, extending the right arm along the right ear. Exhale, rise back up to warrior two. Bring the hands back to heart center. Swivel the back foot so it starts to shine towards the front of the mat. Push through the left foot. We'll exhale, bring both feet back up to the top of the mat. Finding that Tadasana mountain pose again. Breathing here nice and slow. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips. Place the hands on the shins. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands at the top of the mat, step the feet back, and then we'll lift the hips up towards the sky for that downward facing dog. Or inhale, lift the right heel up towards the sky, getting that three-legged dog, maybe kicking that right heel out towards the left hip just a little bit more this time. And then we'll draw the right knee into the chest, bring the right foot back up towards the top of the mat. Swivel the back foot. Again, finding that warrior two, we'll inhale, rise back up, stacking ourselves up nice and tall through the spine, nice deep bend through that right knee. Nice work. Holding for just a second, feeling nice and long and tall on the spine. And we'll inhale, straighten the front knee, keeping the arms extended. As you exhale, we'll come into triangle pose. Reach those right fingers, pushing the left hips back behind you. Then we'll lower the right hand down towards the shin, the thigh, maybe even towards the foot. And that left arm will extend straight up towards 12 o'clock, straight up towards the ceiling. We'll pivot the collarbones towards the sky. And maybe a nice stretch through the legs. And from here, we'll lower the left hand down towards the floor. If you can reach the floor, we'll start to walk the hands towards the center, swiveling that right foot in towards the center of the mat. We'll take a very gentle bend in the knees and straighten the spine just a little bit more before we exhale. Slowly start to round down between the legs, coming into our wide-legged forward fold. We'll slowly start to ragdoll ourselves all the way back up to standing. Stacking the spine up nice and tall. We'll pull the heels in towards each other one time, toes point out towards the outer edges of the mat. We'll place the hands on the thighs, fingers point down towards the floor. And we'll slowly start to bend the knees over the ankles, coming into our goddess pose. So sitting the hips down, lowering the torso like you're lowering down in an elevator. You're not pushing the booty back and lowering the torso, but like you're sinking down. Holding this here. Another great opportunity to practice those engagements of the Mula Bandha. Feeling nice and strong here. Start to lower the right shoulder down towards the right floor, gazing at the left shoulder. We'll come back to neutral, lowering the left shoulder down towards the floor, gazing over the right shoulder. Coming again back to center. We'll exhale, slowly rise ourselves back up. Hands come to heart center, swivel all the toes back up towards the top of the mat, push through that right foot, bring the left foot back up towards the top of the mat. Extend the hands down towards the floor, Tadasana pose. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. As you exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips. Inhale, place the hands on the shins, rise up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands at the top of the mat, step the feet back. And lift the hips up for downward facing dog. As you inhale, lift the left heel up, maybe opening up for that three-legged dog. And then we'll lower the knee back to center, draw the knee in towards the chest, left foot down, swivel the back foot, and we'll inhale, rise up into warrior two. Sitting nice and deep into that left knee, shoulders stack over the hips. Really nice and strong here. We'll inhale, straighten the front knee, coming into our triangle pose. Reaching forward with the those left fingers, reaching. And we'll slowly lower the left hand down towards the floor, extend the right arm up towards the sky. Great work. We'll draw the lower belly in as we exhale, slowly rise ourselves back up to standing. Hands come to heart center. Swivel those left toes so that they're parallel-ish with the short edges of the mat. And as you inhale, lift the spine up nice and long and tall. And as you exhale, begin to hinge forward from the hips. Lowering the torso down between the legs, coming into that wide-legged forward fold. Finding your edge here, maybe a little bit of movement from side to side. You might enjoy walking the left hand towards the right ankle, and walking the right hand towards the left ankle. Coming back to center with a gentle bend in the knees, slowly rolling yourselves all the way back up to standing. Heel in one time, toes point towards the outer edges of the mat, hands come back to the thighs, taking that goddess pose again, bending the knees, lowering the hips down, keeping the torso stacked nice and long and tall. Squeezing the glute muscles, we'll slowly lower that right shoulder down towards the floor, gazing over the left. We'll bring ourselves back to center, and then left shoulder down, gazing over the right shoulder. We'll come back to center, rolling yourselves all the way back up, nice and tall. Hands come to heart center. Swivel all the toes to point towards the top of the back. Push through that right foot. We'll lift the foot up towards the top of the mat. Extending the hands down towards the floor. Find that Tadasana mountain pose. Grounding down through the feet. I'm just going to change position. We are going to move into tree pose. So if you feel a little more stable next to a wall, a table, or so that you feel a little bit more stable in the feet, we'll bring the hands to heart center. Ground down through the right foot coming up onto the left toe. We'll find a non-moving spot to stare at, knee out towards the left side of the room. We'll draw the left heel in towards the left ankle, stopping at any point here along the way. If this is enough of a challenge for the balance, stay here, or you can pull the heel in towards the ankle. If you'd like, you can move the foot up towards that right thigh, just being dealt to avoid placement of the foot on the knee. So feeling into that foot, that right foot feels solid and stable. You might stay here. You might find an arm variation that feels nice for you today. Breathing steady and slow. As we exhale, bring the hands back down to heart center, releasing the left foot. We'll sway the hips from side to side, maybe windmill the arms out. And we'll pause our windmills, finding our Tadasana mountain pose again. Feeling that rooted sensation through the feet, bring the hands to heart center. Find that non-moving spot to stare at, ground down through the left foot, squeeze the left thigh, squeeze the left glute. Get light in the right foot, and maybe open that right knee out towards the right side of the mat. You might start to plug the foot in towards that left ankle, or you might stay here. As you are ready, moving the foot up towards the calf or the thigh. And if you'd like, you might move into an arm variation today. But we'll notice that, maybe one side feels different than the other, which is natural. That our practice allows our differences to minimize, but accepting them, working with them. Next, exhale slowly. Lower the foot back down towards the floor. Shaking the hips, windmilling the arms out from side to side. We'll make our way back up to the top of our mat. Extending the hands down towards the floor, finding that Tadasana mountain pose. We'll inhale, lift the arms up overhead, lift the gaze up. Exhale, open up the arms, swan dive forward, hinge from the hips, lowering ourselves down. We'll inhale, lift the gaze up as we place the hands on the shins, rising up halfway, and then exhale, forward fold. We'll start to move into our chair pose, bending the knees nice and deep, pushing the hips back behind us. As you inhale, lift the chest, the arms, the gaze up towards the side. On the exhale, rise to stand, hands come to heart center. Now we'll come into our chair pose from another direction. From standing, bend the knees, push the hips back. Inhale, lift the arms, the chest, the gaze up. Now, chair pose is a really powerful pose, especially during pregnancy, helping to build that strength through the legs that can be so helpful during labor. So we're going to take another breath here in our chair pose. And then we're going to start to transition into our Malasana pose or deep squat. So we'll start to lower the hips down even more. Hands come to heart center, lowering the chest down, lowering the hips down. You might need the support of your hands or to come into this deep squat another way. And I'll change position so you can see. So the legs might be out a little wider to make room for baby. We'll push the elbows into the knees, helping to lengthen the spine. Hands come to heart center. So Malasana pose or garland pose is another very, very important pose during pregnancy. And another great opportunity to connect with the Mula Bandha. So we'll take a few breaths here. Releasing everything on the exhale. Inhaling together. At the top of the inhale, squeezing the muscles of the Mula Bandha, holding them through the exhale. And then releasing before you start your next inhale. Squeezing it at the top. Holding through the exhale. And releasing before you start your next inhale. Squeeze and hold. And then release. We'll release the bind on the hands, bring the hands back behind you, slowly lower the hips down onto the floor. Nice work. So we'll take the legs out in front of us and give the knees a gentle windshield wiping from side to side. Pause that windshield wiper. And we'll bring the legs over to the left side of the mat, lowering the knees, stacking them somewhat on top of each other. The right heel pulls in a little closer towards the left sitting bone, and then the top of the left foot kind of nestles into the arch of the right foot, allowing the knees to open out wide. Aiming to get that left sitting bone down towards the floor, making any sort of adjustments here. Finding our mermaid twist. We'll push into the hands, lifting the spine up nice and tall. As we exhale, we'll twist over to the right, bringing the left hand to the right knee. Right hand comes back behind the body. We'll inhale to lift and grow a little taller, and then exhale to grow a little more twisty. Allowing the belly to be so soft here. We'll start to unwind, coming back through center. We'll bring the legs back out in front of us, and then we'll move them over to the right side of the mat. Tucking that left heel over by the right sitting bone, and then the top of the right foot will nestle into the sole of the left. Knees are open a little wide. That right sitting bone aims towards the floor just a little bit more. Now taking this into the twist, we'll inhale to lift and lengthen the spine. And as we exhale, bring the right hand towards the left knee and the left hand comes behind the hips. We'll inhale to grow just a little bit taller here. And then exhale, twisting just a little bit deeper. On the next exhale, we'll slowly unwind and release, extending the legs out nice and long in front of us. We'll point and flex the feet, giving a little bit of movement, Now working a little bit more into the backside bodies. We'll bend the right knee, pull the sole of the right foot in towards the left thigh. We'll open that right knee out towards the right side of the room. Planting both sitting bones down, we'll bring the hands down by the hips, and as we inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. And as we exhale, pivot the collarbones over that left leg. We'll start to walk the hands out along that left leg. Keeping the spine nice and long at first, slowly coming into our Janu Sirsasana. As you exhale, rounding down slowly over that left leg. Allowing the head to be nice and soft here, lowering the head down, maybe taking some half circles with the head. And slowly start to walk ourselves back up nice and tall. We'll lift the right knee up, the right leg out. I'll switch sides. Pull the left knee in, place the sole of the left foot against the right thigh, open the knee out towards the side. Hands come by the hips. We'll inhale, lift and lengthen ourselves, growing nice and tall. Pivot the collarbones over that right leg. Now as we exhale, begin to hinge forward from the hips, lowering the torso down nice and long. Moving nice and slow here. As you exhale, round down over that right leg, moving nice and slow. And slowly start to walk ourselves all the way back up. We'll extend the legs out nice and long. Just moving the hips a little bit. We'll open the legs out nice and wide. Take a moment to remove some of the meat from underneath the sitting bones. Grow your spine nice and long and tall. As you exhale, we'll begin to hinge forward from the hips, coming down through the center. Lowering the torso down. Breathing here nice and slow, taking a moment for some stillness, maybe to reconnect with your intention or your dedication that you made at the beginning of class. Now, if a little bit of movement from side to side feels nice in those backside bodies, you're welcome to walk the hands from side to side. We'll pause any movements, coming back to the center, rolling ourselves back up. We'll bring the legs together in front of us, finding our Dandasana staff pose, flexing the toes up towards the sky. Bring the shoulders back by the hips. Draw the spine nice and long. We'll inhale, lift the arms up overhead, feeling the spine grow even a little taller as we reach up with those fingertips. And as we exhale, begin to hinge forward from the hips, lowering the torso down over the legs. We'll plant the hands outside of the legs, and as we inhale, lift the spine, growing a little taller here. Maybe you'll make an adjustment, open the legs out towards the sides a little bit. Now as you exhale, begin to round down between the legs, finding our Paschimottanasana, our western side stretch, allowing the back side of the body just to open, soften, and release just a little bit more. Slowly rolling ourselves back up. Now we'll come into a supported bound angle pose, resting on our back. So that pillow that we have, or blanket, maybe you have a yoga bolster, will come in handy here. So we'll place that down on the ground and we'll pull it up by our hips. We'll pull the heels closer towards the sitting bones. We'll open the knees out towards the outer sides of the mat. Slowly walking the hands back, lower the torso down over that blanket or pillow or bolster, resting down onto this supported prop. Just allowing ourselves not to be fully resting on our back here. You might open the arms out towards the sides or into cactus arms. You might even place the hands back on the belly, just reconnecting with baby. Taking any adjustments here that feel nice. Now slowly, gently bring the knees back together, up overhead, back together towards the sky. We'll heel toe the feet out towards the edges of the mat, just allowing the hips to close gently here. Now we'll come into our supported Shavasana pose. We'll stack the pillow a little closer towards the right side of the body, allowing the left side of the body to rest a little bit closer towards the floor. And we'll extend the legs out nice and long onto the floor. Legs are open wide, arms are open out wide towards the sides of the body. Or you might enjoy placing the hands back on the belly. Just taking a few moments here to rest in a conscious relaxation pose, our Shavasana. Making any of the adjustments that you need to help become a little bit more comfortable. And in our Shavasana, we can release that long, slow, deep breath, allowing the breath to move naturally in and out of the body. You can close the eyes here and soften the muscles between the eyebrows. Relax the muscles of the jaw. Soften the muscles in the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Soften the muscles in the chest and the belly and the back. Softening any engagement of the muscles through the glutes, the thighs, the legs, or the feet. We'll slowly start to bring a little bit of movement back into our fingers and our toes. Taking a nice deep inhale here, maybe stretching the arms out nice and long, stretching the legs. We'll begin to make our way over onto our side body, resting in a fetal position. And just taking a moment here to feel gratitude towards ourselves for prioritizing the health and wellness of ourselves and our new baby. Knowing that changes are inevitable. Welcoming those changes whenever possible. We'll slowly start to help ourselves back into a comfortable seated position. Coming maybe with the eyes closed or the gaze softly lowered. Noticing the differences, the changes in the body, in the mind, in the breath. We'll take a nice deep inhale, lifting the arms up overhead. As you exhale, bring the hands down through heart center. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.